Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cat Talk Radio. This episode, we're actually recording on Zoom. So if you're tuning into this podcast, you could head over to YouTube and watch it because there's going to be some amazing things you're going to want to see during this episode. Today's episode is about the nakeds, not the naked people, but Sphynx cats. And joining us is Emily McCatherine. She has Prairie Creek Cats, and they're based in Wichita, Kansas. Now, Emily was actually referred to me by a mutual friend of ours. I told this friend that I really wanted to interview somebody about Sphynx cats, and I wanted the most reputable breeder they could think of. So they referred Emily to us. Emily's been breeding Sphynxes for 7 years, and she's going to tell us all those things we've always wanted to know about the naked cats tonight. So welcome to Cat Talk Radio, Emily.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me and the babies on.
Absolutely. And so, obviously they're called nakeds because they have no fur, right? Now show
Correct.
us one. Show us one. Go ahead, show us one.
Well,
What do you
I mean,
have
we
there?
have a pretty special
Oh
delivery
my
today.
gosh, look at that. It looks like a little rat.
I know.
Oh my
Almost.
gosh, how old is he or she?
This is Sasha, and she is about 5 weeks old.
Oh,
So just not very big, but they're just eyes, the ears, everything open right now. And we just started eating real food, you
yeah, I can
know.
tell she's got a full belly on her,
Yeah, I
doesn't
know
she?
all systems go right now, and we're starting on litter box training this week. So,
Oh,
and
wow. Oh, she's adorable.
then she has her brother
Let's see.
and Sammy.
Oh, look how cute Sasha and Sammy. One of the things I've noticed about them is how clearly the skin pigmentation is what
Yes,
makes hair color. Is that right? So if they
correct,
had hair, they would have white snouts and then some color.
correct. If they had hair, if your haired cat had no hair, this is what they would be. If they had pattern, he would be a gray and white cat.
Oh,
It would be
wow.
what your gray and white would be, or maybe like a lilac color almost.
Yeah.
And she would be a bicolor with the little mask.
Uh-huh.
And, she started out all pink, and then she started getting her little dark spots. They call them the little ghost color, but she's a thermal. They're both thermals. They started pink, and then they started getting a little darker, as I always say, as they age, but they won't get too, they don't get too dark. So yes, if
Yeah.
they had hair, that's what they would be, white and gray.
Now, are they like they don't have eyelashes or whiskers? Do they have whiskers?
No, they don't. They have, so in the Sphynx breed, actually, they are allowed to have, um, they are allowed in the actual show ring conformation wise, have a little bit of fuzz on their nose.
Oh, he's so cute.
They can have a little bit of hair on the tips of their ears, a little, maybe even just a small amount on their tails. You see, these guys aren't going to have any because their mom she's very soft. But you can't see it on the computer, but they they're completely hairless. I know it's hard to believe, but a
Wow.
Sphynx isn't an actual hairless. There's a few hairless breeds. There's the Sphynx, that's the most notable one. I know. But there's also the Don Sequoia. And the Don Sequoia is more of a sticky feel.
Mm.
And they are like a true, there is no hair. A Sphynx can have hair, and at any point in time, they can grow it and it can
Oh,
fall. They don't have the gene to hold it.
oh,
I tell people.
interesting.
So at
Interesting.
any time I tell my families, at any time your baby might grow a sweater and then it will lose it.
Oh, that is so interesting. I've never heard of that before. Now,
Yes.
are their ears really bigger than other breeds of cats, or is it just because they have no hair it looks that way?
I think that, and that is one of the breed characteristics, is that the bigger ears. Let me grab a big sister here. The bigger ear set.
Yeah.
The bigger ear set. The big wide ears. She's not gonna put her ears up for me.
She's like, no, we're on TV. I don't want to watch.
I know. And then because so a little history on the Sphynx. Everybody thinks they came from, or can you take one of these babies? Can you take these babies or put them in a little basket for me, honey? Or in a bed or something?
Yeah. Babies are hard to hold and things like that.
I know. Well, I have my little teenage group up here running around too, and they get a little harder. Yeah, I'll put them back with mama. So a little background on Sphynx. Everybody thinks, oh, they're the Egyptian cats and they started in Egypt, and they didn't. They started in the 1960s from a cat,
Oh,
a Devon Rex.
a Devon Rex. Oh.
Called a Devon Rex. And the Devon Rex is a curly-haired, curly-coated cat that as a baby, like this one, they go through their kitten molt and they'll lose their hair. So they have the recessive coat gene.
Ah.
In the 1960s up in Canada, there was a litter that had a completely hairless or a naked baby. And they thought, oh, it was just, it's going to grow a coat. It didn't grow a coat. And that's when some feline geneticists started to look into why. And that's when they found the recessive gene that made the Sphynx. And a group of breeders started working with it. And
Wow.
so they you'll see them, they start to get the characteristics. They get
beautiful.
He is very pretty, from a very beautiful breeder. The round ear set, the nice cheekbones.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have really high cheekbones and
little profile, little pretty profile. Very playful personalities, very similar in that. Now, forever kitten.
Now, will her kittens be nakeds or will they have some fur? Or could they be both in the same litter?
So she's a full Devon Rex, and I will breed her to another full Devon Rex to have the full curly coat. We will breed for the beautiful curly coat on her.
Okay. And how many litters do you have a year?
Depends on my mamas. I have 3 or 4 mommies. So if they have one that, if I have one that starts at the beginning of the year, they could have a second litter at the end of the year. So on average, we'll have 3 to 4 litters a year. So not very many, but and possibly it still keeps a busy house.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a lot of cats any way you look at it, but that's manageable. You want to, as an adopter, we know that a kitten's sensitive development period is between 3 and 7 weeks of age. So you want to make sure that those kittens are getting handled adequately, and have exposure to other adult cats and other kittens and all kinds of activity, as much activity as you can possibly throw at them. And of course, if you had 15 litters, it'd be absolutely impossible to provide that level of exposure and enrichment to that many cats. So that sounds like a manageable number.
Yes, and we keep all of our kittens until they're 16 weeks old. So, and usually most of my moms will stay with their litter until they're 16 weeks. And even though they're not producing milk, they'll still comfort nurse, and they still do a lot of their own teaching and training on their kittens. And I leave the moms with them as long as they're comfortable. And, if they want to socialize with the house and it's safe for them to do so, we allow our kittens to. And I mean, we're always I feel like we're always carrying a kitten around. Yeah. There's always a kitten tucked in somewhere.
Right.
I mean,
now that looks like it would be a flame point. Would he be a flame point if he had hair?
This is the full sibling to those babies I just had. The one, and she's a bicolor.
Okay.
She's a lilac
I
and
see.
white bicolor.
And
So
she has blue eyes. Does she have blue
yes,
eyes?
she does have blue eyes.
Oh, she's beautiful. Now, a friend of mine, I've only actually gotten to hold and touch Sphynx cats once. A friend of mine had a pair, and I went over to his house, and I was like, "Yes, I absolutely want
Yes.
to see him." And I was wearing a black shirt, like I'm usually wearing a black shirt, and I picked up the cat, and I was snuggling it, and I was just like fascinated by how it felt. It's a
Mhm.
it it just doesn't feel like our skin at all. It has a totally different feel to it. And I gave him the cat back, and I had smudge all over my shirt. And he's like, "Oh yeah," I had to give me a towel to. So tell
Mhm.
us about that. What's that smudge that you get?
We call it Sphinx smut. Um,
What?
See if I can find a good example of it. I'll have to kick someone out of their little habitat here, but we call it uh, Sphinx smut.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Like here's our little tunnel, and
Oh wow. So what is it actually? It felt like it was oily. It was kind of like an
oils.
oily substance. Is that
It's oils. It's oils. It's dander. It's every mammal is going to produce oil of some sort out of their. So that's why I said they're not. I mean, they still have hair. They still have an actual hair follicle, and
oh,
it does produce oil.
interesting.
And that is where the grooming of these cats come in, and that is also where if if your listeners are so interested in one, and they're hesitant on getting one because of grooming, finding the right breeder and working with one is very important, because I have a couple different bloodlines in my house, and I can tell you which bloodline will require more more bathing than not. I
Oh,
tell I tell most of my families less is more. The less you bathe them, the better it is.
so it's kind of like
If
your hair, right? If you wash your
exactly,
hair too much, it gets too oily. And okay.
that's exactly like it. That is exactly it. My girls, I have people ask, how often do you bathe your cats? Never. I hardly ever bathe them.
Is it
Because
can you use like those bathing cloths on them? The wipes, the bath wipes?
I know she's sweet. She's a
He's so
nice little
cute.
cat. I can use, you can use those. You can use a baby wipe. You can use a wet washcloth.
Okay.
That's the best thing. Now, I do have kitten families that once a week they just want to put their cats in a bath, and that's what they want to do, and that's totally fine. And I tell, it doesn't hurt them any less or more if you want to bathe them every week. It doesn't hurt them any less or more if you bathe them like me, like you do, like I do. And I just, it depends on how much it's a personal preference. I mean, how dirty do you want your fingers to be when you're done holding them? We're used to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It is the breed. I know some breeds of cats like water more than others. Are
mhm.
they a breed that actually likes water naturally?
They always have their hands in water.
Okay.
They always have their little feet in water. They always have their foot in the dog bowl. Um, they're easy to all of my kittens. I start them, even though I don't intend for them to be bathed very much going on, but that's part of our kitten process is I bathe them, I get them used to being groomed. I clip their fingernails starting at just a week old. We start working with the little babies on having their feet handled. And the main thing about a Sphynx maintenance, if any of your listeners ask, the main thing I tell I tell my people is that ears and toenails,
Yeah.
ears and toenails, weekly is what I like to. I was just, when I was waiting for you to come on, I was clipping toenails with everybody, and it's just a matter of you find a time and you sit down and just and and that's just general. I think good cat ownership.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
we're a no declaw cattery. We're very strict about it. We're no declaw, just cats in general.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is keeping their claw. I mean, I teach people how to appropriately manage their the length of their cat's claws and what's appropriate. And then cleaning their ears, because a Sphynx ears with no hair to appropriately
Yeah.
keep the oil and dirt and things out of there, they need to be wiped out and cleaned out weekly.
Yeah. Now, where do most of your babies go? Do you have kitties all over the world, or is it
Gosh, we have them
regional?
in Florida. Those two babies that I just showed you guys, they're both going to Maryland to live with. They have a full sibling that's out there right now, and his mommy wanted wanted one more, and then she didn't want to split them up, so she's going to take two of them. Texas. Oh gosh, California, Arizona. Yep, we've flown out to Arizona. North Dakota. My husband's listing off places where they've gone. They're everywhere, all
That's
over.
great. Now, you
All over.
mentioned their personalities. Are they different than, a domestic short hair you would adopt out of a shelter, or can you expect a different personality out of this breed?
You should definitely expect a different personality from um, even just a breeder raised cat than a cat you get out of a shelter. A cat you get out of a shelter, and it's not the shelter's fault. A cat you get out of the shelter is usually weaned from its mom, if it even had its mom coming into the shelter. It's weaned from its mom maybe 6 weeks. Lucky at 8 weeks, and it's spayed and neutered, and they have to do that. They have to do that to move them on, and because they have more coming through the door, and they have to do what they have to do. But that's hard on a kitten's development. And a true cat lover and a true cat person knows that's hard on a cat's development. But a kitten that's been kept with their mom for 16 weeks, and with a family, with a what they consider their family for that 16-week time, you should expect a difference. They, you know, they're better socialized. I think they are happier to be around people. I tell people that when you get a Sphynx, you have to you have to be ready to own a cat that wants to be loved by its person.
So they're
And a
affectionate.
Sphynx, yes, a Sphynx is not an aloof cat. It's not a cat that is just off in the distance. They play. Most of my kittens play fetch.
Hmm.
They run on their cat wheels. We have cat wheels here, so most of my families get cat wheels. They're smart. They know how to. We've changed almost all the doorknobs in our houses, because when one learns how to open it, they all do. Um, they jump on top of countertop. I mean, they're they're smart. They're smart. They're interactive. They go places. I see pictures of my kittens going everywhere. They travel well. We take them everywhere with us. They're
Now,
just. I think you should just expect a better, not a better kitten from a breeder, but you should expect a better socialized kitten
sure.
from a
Now,
breeder.
now clearly there's different breeders. I mean, there's, what's the actual definition of a responsible, reputable, ethical breeder versus a non that?
Well, the International Cat Association, which is TICA, they have a list of guidelines that can be found on their website that lists out what they set a standard for an ethical breeder. And an ethical breeder is one that keeps the kittens a minimum of 14 to 16 weeks. Also alters any kittens going out that are not intended for um, breeding purposes, and no, they want to see that kittens are going out with no declaw clauses. um they just want to, and that they have appropriate, age appropriate vaccination schedule, microchipped, um all of the up to date registration. I heart scan all of my adults, all of my breeding adults. I heart scan. do genetic and DNA testing. So, and that's not a requirement, but that's just, and none of them, they can't regulate a cattery, but if you want to find a breeder, you want to read those standards, and then you really want to try to find a breeder that is really working to live by that.
Yeah. No, that's good. Now we see pictures, of nakeds always in sweaters and stuff.
Mhm.
Now, is that because are they typically colder than cats that have fur?
I think people just like to put them in sweaters.
So you don't think
Think
they're colder, they don't need it?
they it depends on how cold you keep your house. I don't like to be cold, so I mean behind us I have a propane fireplace, and as soon as they hear that click, they're all in front of it. But so is my dog, and so are all the rest of us. Um, and so, but if I put a sweater on them, they act like I've taken their legs away, and they just fall over.
Yeah.
But I see some of my babies that are in sweaters all the time. And so I just think some of I think some of I think they're more fun to dress up. Now we have lots of sweaters. Do they like wearing them? Absolutely not. That's just mine. Mine don't like wearing them.
Yeah.
Do I think that they're more cold? Not necessarily. When you feel them, they're always warm, but you always need to check a blanket before you sit down.
So you
You
don't
always
get
need to,
smudge on your butt? Is that
well, so you don't sit on one,
Oh.
or I'll lift a blanket and I'll roll one out of it by accident.
Yeah.
Um, they're great snuggle buddies. I can always tuck one in a sweater with me. You know, I don't know that they get any more, but my Devons, they're under the covers with us too.
Yeah.
So they just like to be close to their person.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, is their lifespan is the same as a normal cat? Are they different in any other way physiologically like that?
I think I think and hope that their lifespan is as normal as a cat, any other normal cat. And we just, that's what we hope for, just as breeders and just good pet owners. We just hope that we hope we get to keep them as long as possible.
Sure, sure. Now you hear, especially with dogs, you hear stories about, purebred dogs, particularly particular breeds will have certain things wrong with them, like certain breed of dogs will have more heart issues and things like that. And I know there aren't nearly as many purebred cats as there are purebred dogs, but do we see that in purebred cats where there are some genetic challenges with them?
Yes, in the Sphinx, the main thing we scan for in the Sphinx is heart disease.
Mhm.
But that's also scanned for in the Maine Coon, the American Shorthair, the Devon Rex, the Bengals. And I asked their cardiologist that I work with, and I asked him about that, and he said that he also sees it in, and he's done this a long time, and he had some clinical studies that he did, even just on domestic cats, that just the typical regular cat. And what he said was that he found it just as prevalent in the regular shelter cat as much as he found it in the breed cat. The difference was that as breeders, we were actively looking for stuff because we were actively trying to eliminate that from our program and always trying to breed a better, healthier animal. And so, I go back and forth on this, because do purebred animals have more of those, or are we just actually looking for it and noticing it
Yeah,
more?
that's a good point. That's a good
And
point.
so, I don't really know the answer to that. And my health guarantee contract, I guarantee against that. And if that should happen, then I have a replacement clause. But at a certain point, at what point can I not play, God, in certain sense of nature will be what it will be.
Yeah.
So the best I can do is do the screening and all the things I can do, um and take out, if I see something that's a concern, I can take that out. But
Yeah.
at what point can you take it out?
Hmm. Now, do they
So
groom themselves like haired cats do in the
nonstop.
city? Oh, they do. So they like, and they groom each other. There'll be aloe grooming. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I have some that will groom the other cats more, and then they'll all get away from that cat because they'll get tired of being groomed. And they'll be tired of having their ears slicked up or something. And but yeah, they groom themselves. Sometimes they groom themselves. Yeah, I've got one back here giving herself a full bath. But I mean, they groom themselves just the same. They it's funny, you think they wouldn't, but I mean, they groom every inch of themselves.
How cute. Well, they're absolutely adorable.
Yeah, they
Anything else
are fun.
about the breed that's different or unique that you want to share with us?
Oh my gosh, they are fun. I tell people that the best thing to do is, if you want one, to really reach out to a breeder, and don't be so quick. It is a time investment, and there are a lot of scams out there, and unfortunately Sphynx are one of the number one breeds for um, people to scam with, because it's a high dollar cat, it's a high desired cat, and people will, and that is, I get a lot of people, a lot of my kitten families have come to me for kittens, and they'll say, gosh, I just had somebody take some amount of money from me because I thought I was getting a kitten, and then it wasn't. I have a lot of people come to me, and
Wow.
and to me as a breeder, and even just as a person, I think, how did that how did that not sound not right to you?
Yeah.
But it does. And so, I tell people, if it sounds too good to be true, it really honestly is too good to be true with the Sphynx. There is a price point that is set on these, and there's a reason that it's set on these. And if you find a kitten that has fallen below that, either it doesn't exist, or you will end up making it up in vet bills.
Yeah.
So be very cautious.
Yeah.
Be very, very cautious. So, and give yourself about a 6 month window of working with a breeder on finding a kitten, is what I tell everybody. When they come to me, I say, give me about a 6 month window, because you want to find a breeder that is not in high quantity.
Right.
Um, so if you give them, but I tell people, I'm like, if you can give me about a 6 month window. And right now, what I'm running into is a lot of my previous families want to add a second one. So, which is
Yeah.
great, but I have a hard time adding somebody new into the group because they're all keep adding to their own collection.
Yeah, I know when I was looking at the Bengal breeders, it
Mhm.
was, yeah, all their litters upcoming were sold out and spoken for and that kind of thing. And,
Yep.
being the kind of person that has spent so much time in shelters as I have, I'm always used to, you bond with a cat physically there on the spot, or you're fostering a litter, and and you bond with one, and the idea of adopting a cat, sight unseen and long distance
Yes.
and that kind of it's kind of scary.
Very scary. It is very scary. And I tell people, I don't allow people into my house because we live in the country. I do have lots of other I have babies, as you said, I have babies in different stages. And I just had it, and it's always a safety concern for me and my family. I just don't allow people into my house. But I will FaceTime with anybody, and we do tons of pictures and tons of video updates. They're always welcome to call me. They're always welcome to get a reference on me. We do a fair amount of showing throughout the year, so they can always come and hold one of my. I'm not the breeder that won't let somebody hold. Usually, if somebody comes and actively to come and meet me and see me at a show, it's nothing for me to go, oh well, then here, hold this one. I've got to get the other one ready, and they're standing there going, I've never even touched one before. They're holding this cat all of a sudden, going, oh my God, and it's nothing for me just to hand one over right away and just go, here you go. You
Yeah.
know, You got one now, so
And now what show will you be at next?
I don't know which one. I know for sure we'll be at the February. There's one actually here in Wichita, and so we'll be at the one in February here in Wichita with brand new babies. I always kind of have to be careful showing my girls so they don't bring something back respiratory wise.
Yeah,
And winter's a little hard coming on winter. It's a little bit harder for me to get away. So that's for sure the next one we'll be at though is the one in February here in Wichita, Kansas.
that's great. Now, are litters typically spoken for before they're even born?
Oh, it depends on which mom. They come from the one with the two little babies that you just saw. Her litters are always spoken for
Okay.
before. She's one of my top in request girls because her babies are and she only has two or three at a time. And she'll have one. I know how it goes. She'll have one more litter and then we're done. It just kind of depends on what people are looking for. But it's about 50-50 on if they're spoken for or not. So I
Now,
always say reach out because you never know what I've got.
yeah. And how old is she? How old will you allow that?
Even
She's what?
she is 4,
Okay.
and I only try to let them have 4 litters. And so the next litter will be her 4th and final. And so and then,
And then will you have her spayed and
yep,
keep her, or will you retire her and adopt her out?
she's a forever cat for me.
Yeah.
And she's one of my forever girls. So she stays forever. You want to go get the big boy, or you want to go get Van? Go get Van. Yeah, get Van. She stays forever. The other girls, we can only keep so many before my house gets overwhelmed. My stepdaughter has a Devon Rex altar that she came as an altar, and she stays obviously forever. And some of these girls might stay, but most of them I pet home them out and then I alter them and then they go to somebody at that point has loved them, met them and loved them and
Yeah.
wants one.
Yeah.
So he's gonna bring this is one of our boys from the Ukraine.
Oh.
No, come here.
Oh, look at him.
He's a little special. He's got a little folded ear. So
Oh,
one of his litter mates got him when he was little, but hey, come here. Come here,
he's
big boy.
like,
He was
I
checking up.
was napping, right?
I know he was now. He's all hot.
Oh, look how cute. Now, would he
But
be, if he had hair, would he be black and white?
black and white. You can see the size difference just bulk wise. He's just so
Yeah.
stinking big.
He's not even half the size of our big guy.
Yeah, and he's probably 10 to, probably 12, 13 pounds now. He's just so
Wow.
big.
Wow. Look
So
at that.
The big rigs.
the big guy. So he's our new stud that will be up and coming.
And how old is he?
Oh, not quite. No, he did turn a year. He's a year. He's a little over a year old.
Okay. He's still baby.
He is still baby.
Ow.
He doesn't quite.
Wait.
Yeah, I know. He
Ow.
didn't quite. He's checking out the girls though. He's just finally starting. He's like a teenager. He's starting to just get interested in the
Yeah.
girls.
Oh, yeah. He's at that age. And then
Yeah.
I assume obviously you have to keep them separated because you need to control who's breeding with whom, right? And so
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that's
We have a
gotta be
suite.
hard.
Yeah, we have a suite down in. We actually built a suite for our studs, and we have 2. Then we have the one that's retiring, and then he'll get to take. But we have our suite split, and it's stud proof, completely waterproof, and it has to be.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, stud boys
Oh, yeah.
they are a challenge.
Now, do you put lotion on them or anything like that?
No, I get that question a lot, and he's so just pink, pink, pink. Oh, look at him, he likes his back scratched. I get that question a lot. Do you put lotion on them? I tell people no, do not put lotion on them because anything they can lick off,
Yeah.
they make themselves sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he's
And
so
they're
big.
it's funny. I know the ones that I felt their skin is thinner than you would think. And it's
Yes.
but it's not nearly as dry as ours. It's like it's like oily skin. It's like your
It
face
is.
when it gets
It's like
oily.
it's like a well facialed skin. I tell
Yeah,
people it feels like a soft peach.
yeah, yeah. And because cats' body temperatures run, 102, 103, they're warmer than us. It's very warm. I'm always amazed at how much warmer they feel than a haired cat.
Yeah. And a Sphynx will eat a little. I tell people, I'm like, that is one of the other differences you'll notice is that a Sphynx will eat more. Um, because they're maintaining that body temperature, either cooler or warmer. So my Sphynx, I think they tend to eat a little bit more.
Oh, interesting.
Um, my I'm looking at my stepdaughter's Devon Rex, and she needs to eat a little less, but she takes advantage of the Sphynx eating more. She sneaks in there and eats quite a bit, but the Sphynx states tend to stay fairly lean. Um, they should stay fairly lean. I've got a couple that in my group that my family group that probably need to be leaner, but
Now, are they the kind of cats that you can train with harness and leash? Are they adventurous and like to go out on walks and strollers and trips and
yes.
car rides and stuff?
Oh yes. Oh yes. And we take ours. It is nothing for us to, I mean, always have a cat with us. I feel like I feel like when we go places, it seems like we always have a cat. My stepdaughter has a backpack and that's a little backpack kennel, and she's always seems to have a cat stuffed in there.
That's
Whether she asks if she can have it or not, she always seems to have one with us.
and that's good. That helps. Again, all that exposure helps their personalities. Yeah.
I think most of ours naturally have really good personalities. I've bred for that. Our stud boy he's the one you saw, but also our main one. I mean, he is sweet as candy, and he loves everyone. He puts that personality on all of his babies. All of our mommies are real sweet. If I've got one that isn't, the personality is not picking up on, we don't get to we rarely do we get to 4 litters with our mommies. If they show any inclination of either not, I mean, just not carrying on that personality like we like, or that's the personality is the big thing, or even like if their coat quality isn't keeping it, because I want to turn out a kitten that for a family that is not high maintenance. I want a kitten that is soft and doesn't have to be bathed all the time unless somebody wants to. It doesn't have to be bathed all the time, and that is social and that is happy and healthy, and so as a breeder, I'm always just keeping the best of the best
Yeah.
and moving that along.
Yeah.
So
I had a behavior case once with a Bengal that was a grand champion and was being bred, but his kittens were aggressive to other cats. And so she retired him, and this woman adopted him. And then this woman couldn't help herself and rescued another Bengal. And of course, World War III broke out. And she's telling me this history. And I'm like, So the cat was retired for having kittens that didn't like other cats. And yet you got another cat. And I'm supposed to fix that? Okay. Right.
yeah, I tell people they're not dogs. You can't you can't train them their personalities are who they are. And when I pet home out my retired ones, I have to, and I tell people, I'm like, you have to trust me. And that was one of the things of picking out a kitten sight unseen. And I don't allow anybody to pick their kittens until, and I don't even actually really allow them to pick kittens. But I don't make any kittens available till they're at least 6 weeks old, until I've gotten a good look at their personality. And then I really I want to know the family. Are you busy? Are you quiet? What's your that flow of your household? What are the other animals like? What are the other cats like? Because I can't take a kitten who is kind of just an introvert and then throw it into a family that's like ours, that's just going, blowing, and going all the time. It's just not going to work, and you
Yeah.
can't make it work. That's just cats just don't work like that. I tell people, I'm like, well, they're like, why? And I'm like, well, cats. That's why. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
how else can you explain it? Well, cats.
Yeah.
And unless you want to just always live a life of separating them, you can't. And
Right.
that's your option. You can separate them, or you can have somebody get hurt,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen.
But that's good to hear that you wait until you see the personality of the cat and you match it with the lifestyle
Mhm.
of the adopter. That's great. So many people pre-sell the litters. You know, they just have people waiting for males or females and or particular colors, and they don't take the time to do that. So that's great to hear you do that.
I had a mentor tell me that you have to build the barn before you paint it. And because I kept telling her, I don't want another calico, I don't want it. And she's like, you've got to build the barn before you paint it. And if it's not, the structure is not there, it doesn't matter what color it is.
Right.
I know, you're right. You're right. I don't want another calico. I have a whole house of calicos. I can't stand tortitude one more time.
Right. Yep, yep.
And that's a I tell people, I'm like, that is a real
It
thing.
is a real thing. It absolutely is a real thing.
Absolutely a real thing.
Yeah.
But we have started doing we've started doing some things with a couple of our different moms that we did have some World War threes going on here, and so we had to take two of our young moms that had some great potential and bloodline too, some great bloodline that I wasn't going to be able that would have ended with me, and I didn't want to end it, but I did have an opportunity to put two of my girls with friends that were close enough to me, bring them back for breeding, and then I'm letting one of my friends actually raise a litter, and I have a litter here still, and it's actually working out beautifully because the cat's happy. She's raising a beautiful litter of kittens, and now she's like, I think maybe I want to be mentored to be a breeder, and that's kind of a beautiful process because as a breeder, it shouldn't just stop here. I don't want it to just stop here. I don't want to be the only one here. When I started breeding, there was nobody. And that's why my husband and I were like, we can do this. Like we shouldn't have to go so far to try to find somebody that will just talk to us and
Mhm.
just talk to us like we're real people. And so, that's kind of always been the theory of our program that, I'll just talk to me like I'm a real human. If you want a kitten, just call me. My number's on everything. Just call me, just message me. If I have something, I have it. If I don't, I'll tell you when it's going to be there. And either we're going to be a good fit or we're not. And I'm going to be real straightforward with you.
Yeah.
But if I never help somebody else learn how to grow and do this, then I'm gonna be it. And I don't want
Yeah.
that. I
Well,
don't want to
there's a
just
good
be it.
this sounds like a good book you have to write.
Oh, someday the Cat
Yeah.
Chronicles.
Yeah, yeah. The nakeds, raising naked children.
Raising, yeah, raising the nakeds.
That's too fun. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
This has been
Appreciate it.
awesome, and thank you for sharing your beautiful cat family with us. They're wonderful. And of course, anybody that wants to find you, prairiecreekcats.com.
Yes, yes, it's PR Creek, prcreekcats.com. But
Okay.
they can find us on Facebook and it's prcreekcats.com. On Facebook, that's all the same as, and Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, website, TikTok. That's my dog. She's
So they don't want to be on the cat show,
I know,
right?
my little weenie dog, that she's a nanny, everything. But that's what, yeah, we have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I had a website built for us. So we're pretty easy
Great.
we're pretty easy to find.
Super.
So
And clearly you care about your kitties and
we sure love them.
some good ones. So yeah, so if you're interested in nakeds, reach out to Emily and give her a call. Clearly she's there to talk. So thanks for tuning in today. And until next time, keep calm and purr on.